I only ever went to one sleepover in my entire life. One. And that was plenty. It wasn't like my parents were super strict or even religious or anything. They just wanted to know the people that I was staying with, and after what happened that night, they made damn sure I never stayed the night at anybody's house again. It was 5th grade. The kid was Tommy Jurgens. Ooh. Everybody liked Tommy. He was this little wiry dude with a loud mouth and this fake confidence that somehow worked for him. He knew every cheat code for every PlayStation game and could spit like 8 feet straight up in the air, then catch it back with his mouth. That kind of kid. Yeah, baby. We thought he was cool, but we didn't really know Tommy, not the way we thought we did. It turns out most of what made him cool was just him being raised by a pack of absolute lunatics. We'd see hints occasionally, like how he never brought lunch, just dollar bills and scratchers, or how he said these weird grown-up things, stuff like, "My mom's old man just got out again," or "Uncle Mike's got court in Flagstaff." All that kind of skated over our heads back then, just Tommy being Tommy. He'd been in our class since 2nd grade, and even though he didn't have a ton of close friends, we all wanted to be around him. His life just seemed electric and different. So when he handed out birthday invites on a notebook paper, drawn in Sharpie and riddled with spelling mistakes, I still said yes without even asking my folks first. They weren't thrilled when I showed them, but Tommy's name rang a familiar enough bell that they gave in. I think my mom called his mom and talked for a full 90 seconds before saying it was okay. "All right, but if anything feels off," she said, "you can call us. I mean it." That Friday came. We were all rolled out the bus, hyped out of our minds. Tommy lived on the edge of town in this saggy house with 4 trucks parked out front and 2 boats in the yard. Neither seemed to be seaworthy though. Their garage was open, and I swear to God there was already a drum kit being set up. Real drums. A couple of guys carrying amps inside. We hadn't even taken off our backpacks yet either. Tommy met us on the porch with that usual grin and said, "You guys are gonna lose your freaking minds." And he wasn't lying. I remember walking in and thinking it was more like a party at my uncle's house than a birthday thing. There were adults already there, friends of Tommy's parents, I guess, all drinking and smoking and hanging out in the living room, laughing and didn't take notice of us at all. There were stacks of beer on top of the kitchen table, and the hallway smelled like somebody had burnt popcorn and covered it with weed smoke. Still, in the moment, I think we were just far too young to process what was wrong. At first, it just seemed like chaos. Loud music, cold sodas, big yard. We honestly figured that we stepped into the coolest birthday ever, but we had no idea. The backyard was the size of a football field, or at least it felt like it. There's a rusted trampoline with a bent leg that tilted to one side when more than 2 kids jumped on it, and somebody had duct taped an old dartboard to the trunk of a dying mesquite tree. The ground was patchy dirt and crabgrass, with empty beer cans littering the corners. A cooler full of orange sodas and RC Cola sat in the middle like a prize, and everybody tore into it. Then the band showed up, and I'm not kidding, an actual local band. 4 dudes in ripped jeans and dark sunglasses, lugging gear across the lawn onto a piece of plywood propped up on cinder blocks. One of them wore a vest with no shirt underneath, called themselves Code 3, and the lead singer yelled, "Let's wake this town up," inside a mic and screeched that made all the dogs in the neighborhood bark immediately. They kicked it off with "You Give Love a Bad Name," and every 5th grader in that backyard lost their minds. Even the shy kids were pogoing like it was a real concert. We were 11 years old, drinking sodas, hurling darts at a tree, and listening to a live Bon Jovi cover band, while a drunk guy that we'd never met grilled hot dogs on the porch. It was insane and also kind of amazing. As the sun dipped and the bug zapper came to life, the mood shifted though. The adults were getting sloppy. They weren't just a few beers deep anymore. There were bottles of liquor going now. I saw a guy pour something clear into a red Solo cup and then stumble into the garage. Inside, a few of the other guys, dudes in their 20s I guess, were playing darts for money, real cash laid out on a washing machine like a poker table. Tommy's dad, or the guy that we thought was his dad, was this thick, sweaty guy in cargo shorts with a big chain around his neck. He was barking at somebody named Shane about cheating. "You crossed the line, you dumb shit. I saw you," he said. Shane was this lanky, red-faced, holding a dart like he was about to throw it into somebody's eye. They had a second dartboard in the garage where the grown-ups were playing. We were all just standing there. I remember one of the kids, Tyler, saying, "Should we get out of here?" Before we could move, though, Shane threw the dart at the board and missed it completely. It thunked into the wall, and that's when Tommy's dad shoved him hard. Shane staggered, knocked over a milk crate of tools, and then came up swinging. The next 10 seconds were pure noise. Metal clattering, fist hitting meat, glass breaking. One guy got slammed into a water heater so hard it sounded like a gunshot. We just stood there, frozen. A few kids even started crying. The fight broke up after Tommy's mom, who'd been chain smoking on the back porch, came in and screamed at both of them to knock it off. She had this voice like salt and vinegar. I watched her dig her nails into Tommy's dad's arm and then drag him out by his very skin. "Party's back on," she slurred, and the band started another song like nothing had even happened. After that, the lines between what was fun and what was wrong began to blur really quickly. They busted out drugs not long after. Not weed in a discreet little joint either. We're talking actual drugs. A coffee table in the living room got cleared off, and Tommy's mom dumped out a sandwich bag full of greenish bud and what looked like a literal pile of white powder. It was almost like watching a movie. I thought it was flour at first, but it definitely wasn't. Some guy named Zeke started chopping it up with a Blockbuster card. I remember him saying, "Don't worry, this ain't coke, it just got some go fast," like it made it okay. Another adult, I think Tommy's aunt, was lighting up a glass pipe and singing along to Panama. Tommy came walking in the garage with this big stupid grin and a joint in his mouth, like it was candy. We all just stared at him and nobody said a word. "Dude, hit this," he said, offering it up to Cody Anderson. Cody shook his head and stepped back like it was a snake. Tommy just shrugged and took another puff. He coughed like a dying animal and laughed until he fell over. At that point, I was still having fun in this weird high-wire way. We'd snuck into an R-rated movie, and now we were holding our breath, hoping to not get caught. It was insane, yeah, but it didn't feel dangerous, at least not yet. We ended up in the backyard, sitting on lawn chairs, drinking warm soda, and watching Code 3 finish their last set. The adults were blitzed, falling over, laughing, forgetting their own kind of name drunk. Somebody was dry heaving in the bushes too. I was telling a ghost story to the other kids when we heard yelling again, same voices as before. Tommy's dad and, of course, Shane. "You shorted me," somebody screamed. "Nah, you just fucking suck at darts, Shane." Then another crash, a scream, and people running. We all stood up. A couple of kids took off toward the side yard. The rest of us crept around the garage, doing our best to be quiet. I could already feel the air shift, the way everything got really quiet really quickly. Shane was on the ground, blood on his shirt. Tommy's dad had a knife in one hand, still open. Not a kitchen knife either, one of those folding ones with a knuckle guard. Shane was moaning and gripping his side. Then somebody screamed. And then, bang, bang, bang. 3 shots, real ones, close and deafening. Screaming erupted everywhere. Tommy's mom was laying on the lawn crying. One of the band guys had tackled the dude with the gun and then got it away from him. No one got hit, thank God, but there were shell casings on the ground. The spell was now broken though. This wasn't a party anymore. It was a war zone. The cops showed up in under 10 minutes, sirens blaring, lights throwing red and blue across the lawn like a crime scene disco. I was still in the backyard, clutching my shoes and shaking so bad I could barely even untie the laces. Cody Anderson was crying and wouldn't stop saying over and over, "Did we just get shot at?" They herded us onto the sidewalk, told us to sit down and not to move. The neighbors were outside now, talking to the officers, pointing at the house like it was all normal. A woman wrapped up in a blanket asked me if I was okay. I just nodded back, but I wasn't, not even close. Parents started showing up, headlights rolling down the street one after another. My mom's face when she spotted me, I'll never forget it. She didn't even ask questions. She just wrapped me up in her arms and held me like I just came back from war. Tommy's dad got cuffed and loaded up into a cruiser. Shane got hauled off into an ambulance, conscious but bleeding through a wad of paper towels somebody had slapped on his ribs. A few other adults were questioned right there in the driveway. One guy took off before the cops could even get his name, just vanished off into the night with a backpack full of God knows what. We didn't end up going back to school on Monday, and neither did Tommy. Rumors, of course, flew around. The gun was stolen, the white powder was meth. One of the band members was an ex-con. I didn't care, I just wanted to forget it all, but honestly, I couldn't. None of us could. My mom told the school I wasn't allowed to sleep over at anybody's house again. "Not until you're out of my house and paying your own bills," she said to me, and that was that. I didn't argue. Last I heard, Tommy and his family had moved down the globe to somewhere near Yuma. He never came back. And just like I said at the beginning, I never stayed the night at another kid's house again.